It is time for June on the Range. This is my TBR for June on the Range. Obviously, these books are way bigger than the ones that were used for Mayhem. This particular challenge is going to be hard for me because these books are bigger, and I struggle with reading bigger books just because I get bogged down. I don't feel like I'm reading enough. So we'll see how this goes. Now, I love Westerns. I grew up on Western movies. I live on a farm. We've always had horses. And True Grit is one of my absolute favorite books. So I really do love Westerns. But some of these are pretty meaty that I have picked here for this challenge. So we'll see if I'm able to get through them in a month. The first one is the OG Lonesome Dove, which is 900 pages. This one is a chunk of a book for me, so I hope it reads quickly. I've heard it does, and that hopefully will get me through it faster than I think I am going to. Another one, and this one was part of the most popular book of the birth year read along that Criminale does. It's Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. And of course you can hear my voice already. I'm like, Cormac McCarthy. This is one of those things where I acknowledge the person is a really good author, but they do not mesh with me well. I think there are authors that happens with frequently, and people either don't admit it, or they just sort of are like, yeah, well, I don't think they're a good author. I don't think it's necessarily that they're not a good author so much as some authors just don't click with people. I've known people who don't like Stephen King, and I know people who are excellent authors that I just can't get into, and Cormac McCarthy is one of them. I think there's at least 2 or 3 that I've tried, and I definitely will never even try to read The Road just because that one is so bleak dark. But this is just one of those things that Blood Meridian is one that you always hear brought up with how it's such a dark Western, and it could never be filmed for a movie and all these sorts of things. So we'll see. This one seems a little more maybe I can get into because it's got kind of this almost feels a little bit like it has an edge of Gunslinger, the Stephen King Gunslinger series of things to it, only like a much more literary edge of that. So we'll see. I'm just not one for Cormac McCarthy. Again, his style is not really my thing. Another one that I have here is The Adversary by Patrick Harnish. This one is a Western horror novel, which that kind of has Westerns and horror kind of are a weird genre combination, but they sort of work really well simply because I've seen a lot of horror Westerns show up more recently. I don't know if it's because Blood Tomahawk and some of those other Western movies that are very much horror kind of got acclaim that caused that to happen, but I've seen a lot more that are horror and Western movie, kind of a blending of those things. It's a weird combination, but it works. I think it works just because of the fact that some of the stuff that was involved in Western history just was kind of horrible to begin with. Then we have this one I'm really looking forward to, simply because the title is the best thing I have ever seen in my life. Nunslinger, which this is the collection of I think there were a bunch of novellas that this author wrote, and this is a combination of all of them put together. So this is another one that looks very, very big and meaty because it's like 600 some odd pages, but it's all of the novellas in one big volume. But I'm looking forward to this. This has a feeling of, if anybody has ever watched a lot of anime. There is one called Trigun that was one of my favorites. For some reason, anime likes westerns and likes putting nuns in weird positions of things. I don't know what that is about anime, but it happens pretty frequently in that and manga and different things. But this has a feel of that. It's this sort of almost dystopian looking piece that is Western, but has this kind of bizarre where our main character is going to be a nun with a gun. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And an added piece to all of this, which is not a fiction, but is right up my alley because I like nonfiction a lot. Gunfighters, A Chronicle of Dangerous Men and Violent Death, which is one of these beautiful, glossy nonfictions that Barnes & Noble is the ones that puts these out a lot. I don't know how they get their hands on these as much, but I recognize the sticker, so this is a Barnes & Noble type of book. But we have an actual Western edition to all of this as well. So we'll see how much I get done for June on the Range, but I am looking forward to it and hope that I will read some more great Westerns and hope that more people will enjoy reading some Westerns too, because I feel like that's a genre that does not get its due anymore. It was a big thing back in the day and then has kind of just very much fallen off. I'm also going to give a few, when I do my book reviews, I'm going to give a few movie Western reviews that I absolutely love of movies that I think are great Westerns that I don't hear mentioned much either. So I am looking forward to June on the Range.